Most respected Thay, dear beloved Sangha, we are, as we said before, we are in our rains retreat. And in our rains retreat, we have an opportunity to go deeply into the teachings of the Buddha. And in order for us to be able to absorb those teachings, we follow a certain discipline. That is, we have a schedule. And that schedule is that on a mindfulness day, on a Sunday, we have a guided sitting meditation before the teaching begins. And that guided sitting meditation, it has a meaning. The meaning is that we can settle down into the Dharma before we start listening to the Dharma. So it is important to be present for the guided meditation. I say this not only for our lay friends, but I say it for our monastics. And after that we have a chant. That chant is very important. It shows that there is not just one person sitting up here who gives the Dharma talk, but that we are all giving the Dharma talk together. That is, we already introduced the chanting by saying that the one who, let us breathe together, let us listen together, let us chant together. When you see the monastics up here chanting, it doesn't mean to say that they are separate from you who are sitting down listening. We are together. That is the meaning of interbeing, no separate self. And so we practice the chanting. And then we feel really together, and we are really ready to begin to teach or to begin to listen. And the teacher and the ones who listen are also not separate self-entities. Some people, I do not know why, some monastics come in late and do not come up and chant. That is not the correct practice. I'm asking now to make this a reminder for my sisters and brothers. Thank you very much for listening. So now we come back to our practice. Let us enjoy a sound of the bell. So we may have heard it said that a human lifetime is very precious. It's not very long, and there may be something that we want to realize during this lifetime before the lid of our coffin closes, and that. We hear that the only career of a practitioner is understanding. And we ask ourselves, have I understood deeply enough? Will I regret that I have not gone deeply enough into the teachings? The Buddha has taught that There is no one who dies. There is death, but there is no one who dies. And when we are on our deathbed, if we are able to practice that, then that is, we have understood the teachings enough. So at the moment we are looking into how we can touch that ultimate dimension of no birth and no death. And we have heard that the way to do this is the anuloma jnana, which means the wisdom of adaptation that is able to adapt the historical to the ultimate dimension. And that wisdom is made possible by our practice of conditioned arising, our practice of interbeing, and that is our daily practice, not just when we are sitting on the cushion. We have to do it because we have baggage in our mind, baggage that is made up of words, ideas, and perceptions. And this is a baggage that we need to put down, we need to let go of. And we can only do it by accustoming ourselves to thinking in a different way. And that is the way of conditioned co-arising, of interbeing. Normally we think in terms of a separate self, of I and you, but we need to put down that luggage and learn how to think in terms of you and I inter are. I am you and you are me. Isn't it wonderful that we inter-are? I take care of the garbage in me so that you can be more beautiful. You take care of the garbage in yourself so that I can be happy. We inter-are. So there are contemplations that we do during our daily life in order to help us. You know this diagram already, I think. This is the ultimate dimension. This is the dimension when you can say on your deathbed, there is no one who, there's a death but no one who is dying. This is the historical dimension where we distinguish, we have to do that. There has to be an I who does things. There has to be an I who is not the same as you. This we need this dimension. It is called the dimension of the conventional truth. This is the way we communicate with each other. We need to communicate in these terms. And if you are living together as a couple, and you recognize that I am you and you are me, isn't it wonderful that we inter-are? And I take care of the garbage in myself so that you can be more beautiful, and you take care of the garbage so that I can be happy. So we have to say I and you. Huh? Or we cannot get rid of the I and the you. So when we are practicing like that, we are here, we are on this way. And this way is the way to touch the ultimate, but not just for one moment, but to be able to touch the ultimate at any moment. But it takes time, because as we said, we have that baggage, which has been there for many generations. We take time to be able to let go, to accustom ourselves to looking at things in a different way. And so that is why this journey is a gradual one. It's not something that you do overnight. You hear about sudden enlightenment, but actually sudden enlightenment and gradual enlightenment, they are not two separate things. You may think the person who's suddenly enlightened, they haven't been doing the practice, but they have. And the reason why they are enlightened at that moment is because they have been doing the practice for a long time. So this is going gradually. So here we still have I and you. Huh? But we also know that I am like this because you are like that. And you are like that because I am like this. And that is the meditation that we do in our daily life in order to be able to come to this point where there is no same and no different. Not the same and not different. Not being, not non-being. Not coming, not going. These things we go into slowly. So when I first came to Plum Village, I did not have a very good relationship with my father. And I was instructed to do the meditation on seeing my father in myself. So at that time I am completely on the historical dimension. My father and I are two completely separate realities. And sometimes I think I do not really want to have anything to do with my father. That kind of thinking. That is up here. So that is something I have to practice in order to remove, to put down. And so I have the meditation on seeing my father as a 5-year-old child. Someone who is very fragile, very vulnerable. I never think of my father like that. Fragile and vulnerable. Oh, it is wonderful when you can see that someone who you feel has the power over you is in fact fragile and vulnerable. And at that point you start to feel compassion for that person. And then you continue with the meditation and to see that fragile and vulnerable father is in me, is part of myself. If that fragile and vulnerable child who was my father was not there, then I would not be here. So in that way I cannot say that I am different. But on the other hand, also we are not exactly the same. So many meditations we can do on this way. I and you inter-are. I am like I am because my Father is like He is. My Father is like He is because I am like I am. This is also important meditation. Huh? When we practice conditioned co-arising, interbeing, we see that Father is here and daughter is here. And Father influences daughter, and daughter is Father. So before I was born, because I am the first child to be born, in that from my father, my father was not a father. Huh? It's only after I was born, so my being a daughter is what makes him a father. And yeah. So this is very important. Whenever we look into conditioned co-arising, we have to be aware of this going both ways. This is because that is. It also means that is because this is. And then when we practice this successfully, or we have an insight, which is called right view, from practicing I am like this because you are like that, you are like that because I am like this. We have a realization, and that is that my Father is not a separate self-entity, and I am not a separate self-entity. That is the realization that I am empty, and my Father is also empty. And the what we put to some time for the ultimate dimension is emptiness. Not the same, not the different, doesn't really have a word in English. It is called, but the reason is to see that both of us are empty. We are not real, self-existent entities. I cannot possibly be without my Father. My Father cannot possibly be without me. So we cannot call ourselves real beings, real things that are. So the other meditation that we need to do, you remember every 15 minutes, huh? Already 15 minutes? Mm. The other meditation that is very important when we are on this path, and which is linked to this, is the meditation on impermanence. So there are two kinds of impermanence. there is what is called the periodic impermanence, and that is there are periods in our life. That is the birth, and then the teenager, and then the young adult, then the middle-aged person, then the old person, then the death, things like that. So there are periods like that. But there's another kind of impermanence which is called a kshanika, and kshanika means the instantaneous impermanence. The impermanence that takes place at every millisecond. And I think Sister Hoingim in her Dharma Talk, she talked about that a little bit. So it means you are not the person you were when you came into this meditation hall. That everything in us is changing at every moment. So cells are being born and dying in your body at every moment. So you are not the same person from one moment to the next. It is the same with your feelings and your perceptions. They are changing at every moment. So that is we can meditate, when we meditate on our eyes and the form. So our eyes are changing at every moment. They are being born and dying at every moment. But it's not only our eyes, but also the form we are in contact with. If you are looking at the poinsettia in front of the altar, then in front of the what's it called? Podium, thank you. In front of the podium, it is changing at every moment, and the podium is also changing at every moment, because the electrons, the molecules, and other things are not solid. They're not stable. They are moving around and changing. So not only your eyes are impermanent, but the form that you, which actually you don't see, the form which you don't see with your eyes, what you see with your mind consciousness, your eyes consciousness, is changing at every moment. So this is also an important meditation to do, to see that you are not a separate self. How can there be a self that is changing at every moment, is something different at every moment? Another thing we need to look at is when I walk, and I am aware of my muscles in my legs as I walk, and I ask myself, how is this walking possible? And I know that it is possible because of in each cell in the muscles there is an organelle is called mitochondria, yeah. And if there weren't these organelles in each of my cells, there's no way I could walk. So to say that I am walking is not exactly correct. The mitochondria are walking, and this is the baggage we need to drop, the idea of I am walking. And those mitochondria, they do not have the same DNA as the nucleus, which I call my DNA. It's also the same as there must be, I don't know, trillions or billions anyway, bacteria in our gut, in other places in our body. Well, if they weren't there, we could not digest our food. In our mouth alone, there are millions of bacteria. So we need them. And so this is another way that we can look into how we are not what we thought we were, or we think we are in our daily life. when we get into an argument with somebody, that we think that I am right and you are wrong. But this I who is right and that you who is wrong, you are not what you think you are. So, should we go back to the 12 nidhanas? One of them is the six ayatana, the six entrances for our senses: eyes and form, ears and sound, nose and scent, tongue and taste, body and touch, mind and object of mind. Those are six ayatana. And they are all, there is a time when the eyes, at every moment they are when your eyes are open, they are in touch with the form. And like we saw before, the eyes are not stable. They are changing at every moment. The form is not stable. It is changing at every moment. And based on the eyes and the form, there is the eyes consciousness. And since the eyes consciousness, you might like to call it the visual cortex or something, but it's not just the visual cortex, it's also higher, other levels of cortex that make you think, oh, this is a poinsettia, this is this color, this is this shape, and so on. It's not your eyes that do that on their own. Your eyes are only one condition for you being able to see. You need the light, you need the eyes consciousness, you need other things in order to be able to see. But since we know that the eyes are always changing, aren't stable, every millisecond they are something different, and the form is the same. If the eyes consciousness is based on the form and the eyes, it must also be changing at every moment. Is not so? Yeah. So the consciousness is also unstable, impermanent, changing at every moment. And that is not the way we normally look at the consciousness. We normally look at the consciousness as something is always there. And when we need it, we take it out of our pocket and we use it to be in touch with the world outside of us. But that is our normal way of looking. It's not correct. The consciousness is like the eyes is like the form. It is changing at every moment. It is not stable. So when we can meditate like that, we can see the interbeing nature of the consciousness and the ayatanas, the entrances. They are not separate self-entities. The consciousness does not have a separate self. And the form does not have a separate self. The eyes do not have a separate self. So even some people that think that consciousness is something separate, separate from the world outside, separate from other things. And therefore they think that when I die, the consciousness will continue as a separate self will take me into the... But according to the Buddha, that is a wrong view. Because consciousness is not a separate self-entity. It is empty. It is interdependent. So one time I wrote an article, and its title is "The Stars Are Consciousness, and Consciousness is the Stars." And so one practice that we can do in order to take this journey is the practice of when we look at the night sky to ask ourselves that question. Is this night sky outside of my consciousness? Is my consciousness outside of this night sky? And gradually we can begin to see the condition co-arising. The night sky is arising because of my consciousness. My consciousness is arising because of the night sky. So we have been looking at these 12 nidanas. So I will write them again. Is it boring if I write them again? Not boring, huh? The board isn't big enough, so you won't forget this this now. It's very easy to remember. Now you just tell me and I will write, huh? Right. Yeah.
Mind and body.
Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, all the suffering involved, huh? Samsara. I could. Yeah, I will. This heap of suffering, huh? Delusion, formations, consciousness, mind and body, 6 senses and their objects, contact, feeling, craving, grasping, being, birth, old age, death and suffering. So this is traditional way, and we know that when Thay has been teaching, Thay say that it's not, this way is not possible to take us from here to here. The reason is that this is thought to be a linear progression. It's not like this. This is not linear. This is one, what you call, feedback, little bit like feedback circle. But it's not quite feedback, because feedback is also a little bit linear. One thing happens before another thing happens. But with this diagram here, these two, they arise at the same time. So the problem with this is this comes first, this comes second, and so on. They follow each other. And this belonged to the past, this belonged to the present, this belonged to the future. That is the problem. When the Buddha taught, he taught some of these together and at one time, and then he would, at another time, he would teach other ones, how they go together in that kind of circle. But he didn't ever teach them as a linear progression all together. But that doesn't mean to say that these things don't have the capacity to go together in a circle like this. But we have to look deeply to see how they go together. So we were just looking at the 6 senses and the objects to see that they are not separate self-entities, how they are impermanent, and how they are linked to consciousness. So we can put these things together without any problem. And that is why one time when Thay had been teaching, and I wrote to Thay, and I said to him, can I, when I translate the Katyayana Sutra, the discourse on the middle way, into English, can I put in the way that Thay has been teaching conditioned co-arising? Yeah. And the way Thay teaching conditioned co-arising is just have a few things like this one, delusion, formations. But then Thay changes this to no being and no non-being, and no birth and no death. Yeah, these 4 things. So can I, please, Thay, can I write down the Buddha taught, because of delusion, there is the wrong way of understanding formations. Because of this, there are ideas of being and non-being. And because of ideas of being and non-being, there are ideas of birth and death. Yeah. So I asked Thay that, and Thay never answered. And then when Thay revised the heart of the Prajnaparamita, Thay left for 12 links. Yeah. And Thay said, we must not shock people. But Thay also said we must help Ananda. Ananda is the one who remembers all the teachings of the Buddha. And sometimes Ananda remembered correctly, but then as 400 years passed, other people didn't understand, and so they changed things a little bit. And then we have a mistransmission. But there is another reason, I think, that Thay did not want to remove 12 nidanas, because in a way they make sense. We can connect them to each other. And the Buddha probably also in some sutras taught other nidanas. For instance, he taught that volition, cetana, is a nidana. He taught that perception is a nidana. So in fact, if we want to put all the nidanas that the Buddha taught, we would put in other things. There would be more than 12. Somehow people got caught in 12. They did change all for all the sutras. So one thing that I think we can do is that we can take time, if you have time, to be able to study or to read all the deep meaning sutras that have to do with conditioned co-arising. That the Buddha says, this is because that is. This ceases because that ceases. This arises because that arises. We find all those sutras. Thay already found them for us. We don't have to do that. But we look at them and we see how each one has a different choice of some of these. And therefore we can understand better how some of these inter-are with others. That would be a very interesting project to do. And I hope that we can do it. And not only the Pali Sutra, but if you understand Chinese and Pali and Sanskrit, then you have wonderful opportunity to have many deep meaning sutras and see how they can enlighten you as to the conditioned co-arising inner circle and not linear. Some children are playing on the swing. When we were children, we didn't have to think very much. Yeah, it's very nice to remember when you were a child, when you were playing, and you didn't think about anything, and you realize that it is wonderful, huh? Not to think. So if you want to do this kind of meditation on impermanence and no self, it's very important. But before you embark in your sitting meditation, you might like to practice not thinking. When you come into the meditation hall, you're comfortable on your cushion, you just allow your mind not to think about anything. You just allow your breathing to breathe, and your sitting to sit. And then when your mind is really renewed itself by not thinking, because thinking is old, it always takes up wrong thinking, always takes up the old and continues it. And when your mind is refreshed like that by not thinking, then insight, it comes more easily, without effortlessly. So one of the deep meaning sutras that is very important is the Udana 8.3, Itivutaka 44. And this is about being and birth and death. This is another way the Buddha had of teaching to I like this diagram very much. I don't want to. So one day the Buddha, teaching the monks, said, monks, there is literally it means there is the unborn, there is the non-become, there is the non-made, there is the non-conditioned. That is literally what he said. And then the Buddha said, if there were not the unborn, the unbecome, the not made, the not conditioned, there would be no escape for the born, the become, the made, and the conditioned. And in other places the Buddha said, monks, there are two kinds of phenomena, two kinds of dharma, the conditioned and the unconditioned. That means the historical and the ultimate. And the same phenomena are in both the historical and the ultimate. So that is difficult to understand. So this is easier. This is born, become. Done or made. Done. And conditioned. So this is where our normal thinking stays. I was born and I will die. Huh? Actually, do you believe that you will die? I don't know. Many people, they will say that intellectually I will die, but somehow deep down they cannot accept that they will die. Huh? So Buddha had to give us the meditation I am of the nature to die. I cannot escape dying. Other people die, but I won't die. That is our thinking. So that is very important to recognize that you are born and you die. And you become, and then you stop becoming. Huh? So that is also something that we have to recognize. So become, it normally we talk about as being and non-being. When the Buddha made negative these things, said there is the unborn, the unbecome, the not done, the not conditioned, in making them negative, it brought in a wholly new meaning. It isn't negating, but a meaning like these things are empty. So the unborn, it really means not just birth, but it means death has to be there too. And if we put this, we have to say no birth and no death. We have to say no being and no non-being. And this one is a little bit different. There is an idea of doing that we all have. I do something. I eat my breakfast and then I go on the bus and then I come to the Dharma Talk. And that is our idea of doing, and there's always an I there who is doing, or you eat your breakfast and so on. Doing always has a subject. Actually, Vietnamese is very wonderful language. Huh? When we translate into English, we say, waking up, I smile. In Vietnamese, you say, thức dậy miệng mỉm cười. Waking up, mouth smiles. You don't need to put the I. Huh? And then in English, I have 24 brand new hours before me. So Vietnamese say, 24 giờ tình khỏi. Yeah. So Vietnamese says, 24 brand new hours, not I have. Yeah. And it's like that. So it's a bit more useful, but normally in our Indo-European languages, we always have a subject. So how can you put that? Not done. No subject of the verb. Not conditioned. Before we said there are two kinds of dharmas, two kinds of phenomena, the conditioned and the unconditioned. But not conditioned doesn't exactly mean unconditioned. Not conditioned means No, it's a little bit like this. No conditioner and no conditioned. So before we talk about this, we said, I will water the flowers in you so that you can be more beautiful. So when we say that, it means that I am conditioning you. I'm watering your flowers so that you can be more beautiful. And you will transform the garbage in yourself so I can be happy. So we think that you, by transforming garbage, you will make me, condition me. So we think there is a real entity that is doing the conditioning and a real entity that is being conditioned. Now we have to look into this. Is possible? Is it possible? So I hope when you listen to the bell, you will see how you are impermanent, changing your mind and everything, changing at every millisecond. Ah. Adhishtanam. Kshanikach sava samskara adhishtanam kriya kutach. You all understand this? No? Kshanika means only lasting for a millisecond. What do you call a point instant? The shortest measurement of time, that is kshanika. All samskaras, all formations, all formations only exist for the shortest measurement of time. Atishtanam kriya kutah. How can there be a function of things that don't last for more than a millisecond? Atishtanam means not lasting. How can there be a function kriya, a doing, a done, kriya, verb to do, of those things that do not last? This is asanga in the Paramattha Gathas. Tanya kaya. So that is what we've been talking about. If, say there is an I, but it only lasts for one instant and then it becomes something else. How can it do something? How can you drink your coffee if you only last for a millisecond? And actually the coffee also only lasts for a millisecond. So, how can you eat your breakfast, get on the bus and come here? When the bus is also only lasts for a second, and the bus driver only lasts for a second. So this is to help us understand the not done. There is no real entity which does something. And I think in one Dharma talk we heard đã được cái gì? What have we? Đã được gì hôm nay rồi? Đã mất gì? Sẽ mất gì ngày mai hả? What have we gained today? What have đã được gì hôm qua? What did we gain yesterday and what will we lose tomorrow? Because there is no thing that can be gained and no one who can lose it. This is the dimension that we look deeply in order to be able to touch. And then the next verse, I won't write the Sanskrit because I see that nobody appreciates it. So I won't continue. So their existence, it means the existence of all these formations, is said to be their function, kriya, their function, their doing, and also the doer. Their existence is said to be their doing and the doer. Yeah. So that is said. That is how we think about things. We think there is a doer and a doing. That is what is said. But is that so? Huh? Now I think we need to listen to a little bit of singing. Huh? Ai hát được hả? Non-stop có ở đây không? Xem thị giả của chân đó có ở đây không? Non-stop hát cái gì? Đê bột thở, đê bột đi hoặc ngồi. So we will now hear the song Let the Buddha.
Con đứng đây à, thưa sư mẹ.
Let the Buddha breathe. I don't need to breathe. 1, 2, 3. Let the Buddha breathe, let the Buddha walk. I don't need to breathe, I don't need to walk. Please show you. Nếu xem muốn ngồi đây thì cũng được. Đây hả? Tiếng Việt. Now we will listen in Vietnamese.
Để Bụt thở, để Bụt đi, mình khỏi thở, mình khỏi đi, khỏi đi. Bụt đang thở, Bụt đang đi, mình được thở, mình được đi đường đi. Bụt là thở, Bụt là đi, mình là thở, mình là đi, là đi. Chỉ có thở, chỉ có đi, không người thở, không người đi, người đi. An khi thở, lạc khi đi, an là thở, lạc là đi, là đi.
Thank you. Anybody want to volunteer the English? We do together, huh? Let the Buddha breathe. Let the Buddha walk. I don't need to breathe. I don't need to walk. The Buddha is breathing. I enjoy the... No, sorry, the Buddha is walking. The Buddha is breathing. The Buddha is walking. I enjoy the breathing. I enjoy the walking. The Buddha is the breathing. The Buddha is the walking. I am the breathing. I am the walking. There is only breathing. There is only walking. There is no one breathing. There is no one walking. Peace while breathing. Joy while walking. Peace is the breathing. Joy is the walking. So this is a wonderful exercise that we have been given in order to be able to recognize that There is the action, but there is, we cannot find the actor. So we start off by being lazy. I think you should try this for yourself. Something else we need to look deeply into. Who is the Buddha? One time when Thay was giving a Dharma talk, I think in China or Korea, I can't remember, and Thay was talking because in the Zen tradition, they like very much to do the meditation on who is recollecting the Buddha. So Thay, when giving the Dharma talk, said, but you should ask another question. Who is the Buddha that is being recollected? And the translator could not translate because he is so used to doing the meditation. Who is recollecting the Buddha? It didn't make sense to ask who is the Buddha. Everybody knows who the Buddha is. And his English is very good. He had a degree from Oxford, but he could not translate. I had to say it many times. And eventually, I think he realized what I was saying. Who is the Buddha? Let the Buddha breathe. Who is that Buddha? There must be the Buddha in us. The practice that we have done of mindful breathing that the Buddha also did. So we can say, sometimes when we feel lazy, we feel tired, we say, Buddha, please sit. Yeah. And I think we will find that our stored consciousness knows what it means. And the Buddha sits. The Buddha walks. Yeah. But how long you can keep it up, that is another thing. Huh? Because that takes a concentration. But never mind, you can continue from there, because this kind of sitting that you recognize that the Buddha did and you can also do, it brings you joy. So you can enjoy it. And then you take another step. The Buddha is the breathing. Outside of this breathing, there is no Buddha. We cannot find. Outside of mindful breathing, can you find Buddha? Aniruddha. Can you find the Buddha outside of the breathing? No, world-honored one. If you cannot find the Buddha while he is still alive, how can you find the Buddha after he has passed away? But we have done that, huh? We have found the Buddha is the breathing. That kind of breathing tells you, is the sign that tells you who the Buddha is. The Buddha is the walking. And then maybe at any time, I am the walking. But when I'm eating my breakfast, it's not the same I. Huh? Just as walking, I am the walking. And then we go a little bit deeper and we see there is no one walking, there is only the walking. The Sangha is walking. Some sister told me that is how she practiced. There is no one walking, but the Sangha is walking. And so I just flow along with the Sangha. I have peace while I am walking in this way. And then I recognize that outside of this kind of walking, there is no peace. Peace is the walking. Joy is the breathing, or something like this. Outside of this kind of breathing, there is no joy. So this is the ultimate dimension of the not done, the akata The Buddha said very briefly just one word, akata. I think that is enough. I wanted to talk more about this kriya, but I think it's too much. Yeah. So we can. Is there anything else? I think we should end here. Huh? Many things, huh? We haven't talked about no coming and going. Huh? But it's the same principle. If there is no one who comes and goes, the eyes do not come from anywhere. When eyes arise, they do not come from anywhere, and when they cease, they do not go anywhere. It's like a flame. Huh? When the flame arises, it doesn't come from anywhere. It doesn't come from the north, the south, the east, or the west. When it ceases, it doesn't go anywhere. So the same is true with the eyes. When the conditions, the causes and conditions are right, eyes arise. When they are not sufficient, the causes and conditions are not sufficient, eyes cease. They do not come from anywhere. They do not go anywhere. So when you are on your deathbed, when the causes and conditions are right, your name arises. When they cease, your name ceases. But I do not come from anywhere. I do not go anywhere. Many more things. But now we listen to the 3 sounds of the bell.